push it away from there. Also ties in the fact that person earlier we saw at a different estate seemingly making a fire line.
We do still have Riverside police officer Ryan Railsback here on the phone with us. Officer, we're watching people, several people we've watched try to fight this fire on their own. What do we know about evacuations right now, and have people been listening to officers as they're told to leave their homes? Officer Railsback, do you hear me? Okay, it looks like we have lost Officer Railsback there. Earlier we were speaking to him. He says there are evacuations. People are being told to leave their homes, but they cannot force them out. At this point, we do know an evacuation center has been set up at the Orange Terrace Community Center. But Gio, what a sight. This is not the first time we've seen people today grab what they can, hose, buckets of water to try to put out flames to protect their property. And it looks like right now firefighters, they're on the ground, may be overwhelmed by how this fire is moving here in the Hawarden Hills area. It
makes it so difficult to get to, especially how spread out it is. It's worth resetting a little bit for folks who are just joining us here on CBS on Channel 2 with this brush fire burning homes in Riverside. I want to bring in Olga again one more time, because Olga, when we were on KCAL here just a few minutes ago, you made a mention in your quick forecast that the temperatures over here are in the mid-90s. It is sweltering right now, on top of the fact that wind gusts are playing a factor, and we know when you combine those two things, it makes firefighting incredibly difficult.
Exactly, Gio. We have the extremely hot temperatures and the dry conditions. We have the winds right now in Riverside at 24 miles per hour. So we're seeing those winds from the west spreading smoke and unhealthy air quality to nearby areas, including places like Moreno Valley into Beaumont. So if you are in that area, you're seeing some smoke, try to stay indoors, because this is still going to continue for a while. And winds are strong right now, 24 mile per hour gusts. It is very hot. Want to tell you about temperatures as we head even into tonight. We're still going to remain pretty warm, with numbers dropping down into the 80s as we head into later this evening. So it is going to continue hot even as we head into this new work week. We'll continue with the threat of these fires with elevated fire danger as we head into the coming days. It's really not going to be until this next weekend that finally temperatures start to get a little bit closer to average. So unfortunately, we'll continue with this elevated fire threat for several more days. But right now, it is certainly a challenge for fire crews as they are dealing with some moderate to strong winds through the Inland Empire.
And Olga, will those winds continue throughout the night here? Do we expect them to die down or ramp up? In many cases with these fires, we do see them continue to ramp up.
We'll continue to see them strong through the afternoon. As we head into later tonight, the winds are going to let up a little bit, but then the firefight is going to continue into tomorrow, and we'll see those winds pick up once again as we head into tomorrow afternoon.
Olga, thank you so much. As we take a look live from SkyCal, devastating images of one home fully engulfed in flames here in the Hawarden Hills area. We know this fire first was reported around 1:30 this afternoon. It has burned more than 500 acres. On our screen here, it says no official evacuation orders, but we were speaking to the Riverside Police Department, who did let us know they have told residents in this area of Hawarden Hills to evacuate. Given the circumstances, this fire, it looks like it's hopscotching around, really. We've seen at least 3 to 4 homes light up in flames here, and you're taking a look at yet another one.
And this is one of the homes that we, in fact, I believe this is the first home we broke in with when we first jumped on KCAL earlier, about half an hour ago or so. And it just shows you the response has been really focused here. But in a way, it is incredibly difficult given the fact that all of these homes are so far spread out. They're so separated. This one seems to be close to, if not a total loss at this point. Just a couple minutes earlier, the one that you were looking at with the most raging flames, that one has only gotten worse in the last 25 minutes. It has been a very chaotic situation so far. On the right side of your screen, that's the home earlier, and it just keeps getting worse. And then you see these images devastatingly so, of families, presumably families, grabbing water from their pools to try and ward off some of the flames that are inching closer and closer to their lives. So while evacuation orders are in place, and there was a mention earlier from the officer we had on that, you know, as those flames get closer, you have to prioritize your safety. It is also understandable in cases like these that folks would be trying to protect their homes as much as possible, given that it is that close to something they care about so obviously dearly.
Take a look at just how smoky this area has gotten. Earlier from SkyCal, we were really able to see the community here down below, and you can see just how smoky this Hawarden Hills has gotten, and really all of Riverside can probably see the smoke coming from this fire. But you're mentioning, Gio, how police officers and law enforcement are trying to get the word out to evacuate, but these homes are in remote areas. They are pretty standalone, so it would take a while for a police officer to get to your door to tell you to leave. But this is the current situation, and I'm looking on social media right now, people telling each other, if you are in this area, pack up, grab what you need and leave, because as we've seen, it looks like this fire is really just, for lack of better words, hopscotching around. You see it up on our screen there. You see a bright glow of flames, and you see it down to the bottom. You see another house burning to our right. It's really spread out at this hour.
Yep, but of course, given the concerns, as when we get the chance, we want to show you some video of a roof collapsing from earlier. That's the first home we broke into when we first showed up, and you see the firefighter there at the bottom of that earlier screen graphic doing his or her best to try and keep those flames under control. But things have gotten progressively worse at some of these massive homes and estates that have caught on fire. Now, granted, as those evacuation orders come in, it becomes that much more important to heed them for certain people to get out of harm's way and into safety, given the fact that this fire at last check was burning at around 500 acres, 0% containment, so presumably that it's only going to get larger. And the concern for safety, as you see here live from SkyCal, you see those flames, all that smoke. There is so much vegetation, so much brush, so much green as it approaches an estate here.
Take a look at that home on the left. I know we're looking at the live picture here. I know you're looking at an earlier version, but at the live picture there, you could see someone still in their driveway, as we are seeing another air resource here possibly make another drop of fire retardant as they're trying to at least build a fire line
That's
around
just the air
this.
tack. It's not going to drop.
Okay, it looks like it is not going to drop here. We heard from our helicopter photographer there, but take a look. You can see this home, and it's hard to make out if these are the same homes or different homes. I believe this home we did take a look at, that firefighters have been trying to just, you know, try to get these flames out at this point so they don't go over to another home and catch another area.
And on this
fire.
video, you see the smoke sort of billowing from the house toward the left. So that calls in and brings in the wind, of course, because you asked Olga. Let's bring her back in and make a mention of anyone who just now might be tuning in. Olga, not just hot, but wind gusts, wind conditions are something that they're going to have to deal with for a bit here.
Yes, we will still continue with some windy conditions. They are in the 20s right now for the Riverside area and through much of the Inland Empire. So want to show you temperatures as well. It is hot out there. It is still in the mid 90s at the 5 o'clock hour. Winds at 15 miles per hour coming from the west, gusting at 24. So we will certainly continue watching this. Want to show you exactly what's happening. So it's kind of right centered in that area, unfortunately, in the spot of the fire where we're seeing those gusts. As we head into later tonight, the good news is winds will start to relax a little bit, but they're going to pick up again as we head into tomorrow afternoon. So the firefight is going to be a challenging one. We do also have a heat advisory for the area of the Inland Empire. And we see this when we get the really hot temperatures. We have the winds, and of course we have the dry conditions as well, not just through Riverside, but through a lot of our inland spots. So we could see these fires popping up really anywhere across Southern California, even into next week. We'll continue with elevated fire danger with the extremely hot temperatures for a lot of us. We're going to be in the triple digits for much of the upcoming work week. Temperature-wise, even as we head into tomorrow or even into tonight, look at this. By 11 o'clock in the evening, we're still going to be in the upper 70s in Riverside, and tomorrow morning as you wake up, already in the mid 70s. So it is going to be a challenge as we head into later tonight and into tomorrow, but winds will relax a little as we head into overnight and into tomorrow morning. But by tomorrow afternoon, those winds are going to be gusting once again back into the 20s.
Olga, thank you so much. And now you're taking a wider look from SkyCal Live right now. You just see those pillars of smoke billowing from seemingly estate to estate. It gives you a better picture of what's going on right now. And then off to your left, ever so slightly, you see that line of retardant that's already been dropped. It's just one piece of what is an ever-evolving firefight, something that is going to continue going on for a while. Luckily, no reports of any injuries, at least so far, that we've seen. But 0% containment on this fire, and with those wind conditions, with those sweltering temperatures as well, it's something that presumably is only going to get larger as now we zoom in and get a closer look at one of these homes and how close it is to more flames. It almost looks like right there at the bottom right there might be some, but I'm not entirely sure. You do see the smoke.
Yeah, plenty of residents still out there in this area as we're watching homes catch fire. We want to get to John Schreiber, our photojournalist in SkyCal right now. John, what are you hearing about the firefight here in the Hawarden Hills area?
Well, we're hearing, my pilot Chris is listening in and hearing about all the air assets coming in. We do hear there's a sky crane coming in possibly to make water drops. We've heard the helitanker, which is capable of dropping 1,000 gallons of water on the fire, should be inbound. And we just saw that small air tanker make another retardant drop over in this area of the fire. But you can see it's not as big as it was when we first arrived. All these plumes of smoke you see, 3 of them at least are just homes that are burning on fire, especially that one that we first brought to you when we came upon scene. You can see it's still pretty well involved. Firefighters are definitely hitting this one hard, but that house is a complete loss, as you can see. Anyways, you zoom out, we still have that house up in the middle of the fire that was really intensely burning. In fact, I'd say that's probably some of the most intense flames that I see on the fire right now.
Certainly.
Really thick black smoke coming out of there, really intense flames. And you see firefighters kind of across this. Oh, now it's really smoky, hard to see, but there are firefighters across from that home trying to get water on the home, but it looks like it might be maybe an access issue, hard to get over there. But that's some of the most intense burning that I see on the fire at the moment.
At your count, John, how many homes have caught fire here? We haven't been given an official number by officials yet, but just being in the sky here for the last hour, how many homes have you seen that have caught fire?
Personally, I have seen at least 3 homes on fire. This is the other one that was earlier we saw was really starting to build up smoke from the roof in the attic, and now you can see it's another home that is fully involved. You see at least 3 streams of water on this right now. Firefighters are trying to get it under control, but it is pretty intensely burning and not looking good for this house right here.
Yeah, for this particular home, in fact, this is the first time, at least recently, where we've been able to see the flames actually pierce through, and now they become incredibly visible. It was just smoke beforehand, but it calls to attention right now. Again, we've been making this point relentlessly, the amount of trees, brush, green, anything that could seemingly catch fire surrounding a lot of these homes, this one in particular. It seems like, based on your perspective, I'm curious, where you mentioned access could be an issue, and that certainly does look like something. Is that primarily, you think, the reason that firefighters seem to just be honing in their efforts on certain homes versus others?
I can't be certain. I mean, I wouldn't say this is like a really hard access area like you would find up in, say, the Angeles National Forest, where you have really steep terrain and hard access. There are a lot of roads, there are a lot of trails, fire roads. So it looks like they are able to get to a lot of these homes, obviously, because it is a residential area, not some remote mountain area. But, it just goes to show, you guys were talking earlier about defensible space and how big of a difference that makes. The homes that are surrounded by brush, it's much easier for them to catch fire. But, look at this home right here, that right below it, a massive amount of defensible space and a lot of barrier for that fire you see it burned right up to this home's defensible space, and now this home is okay. But if you look just down the street here, you have this home that we brought you earlier fully engulfed, and it's going to be a complete loss.
And it's just hard to see those images, and it's a reminder that firefighters, law enforcement officials continue to tell people, because wildfires are a real threat in all of our communities here in Southern California. And it's hard to see these multi-million-dollar homes just down to the bones. One of those homes was down to really the bones of the home. You can't even make it out anymore. And we're talking about a home that's possibly anywhere from 6,000 to 10,000 square feet, multi-million-dollar home, a lot of memories you can imagine in that place. And it's gone in a matter of minutes. Are you hearing anything, John, from up there about a possible cause? I know you listen to the scanners often while you're up there. We spoke to Officer Ryan Railsback with Riverside, and he said it was neighbors that called it in, and now they're looking at the possibility of this fire possibly starting from fireworks. He did not confirm, but he said they are looking into that possibility.
We have not heard up here about any cause. We're mainly listening to our the aviation radio, so we're really listening into the it's called the air attack, which is the plane that kind of circles around up top and is giving directions to all the water dropping aircraft. So we're listening to that, but I forget the statistic, but we know many fires that start here in California, the vast majority are human caused. So we don't know yet what that might be, but it's not like a fire up in a national forest that's caused by a lightning strike. Stuff down in this area, just speculating. Usually it's human caused in some form, but as of now, we do not know, or we haven't heard what that is.
And before we let you go here and recap what's been happening, we know that every year all the agencies, especially CAL FIRE, try to bolster our air resources. It seemed like they were spread thin here, or maybe in different areas. Is that what it seemed like to you up there? It looked like maybe there was only one aircraft making drops of fire retardant for some time here, but you were mentioning they're bringing in more resources now.
Right, yeah, and I was noticing that just coming into the fire. I look at the radar as well, as I know our assignment desk editor Mike Rogers does. I did not see a ton of helicopters. Usually you pull up these things and you'll see the helicopters start hitting it hard. In Southern California, they really try to get as many assets on these fires as possible, especially in residential areas. You have the helitankers that we have stationed throughout Southern California. They have them in LA County, Orange County, Riverside County. We haven't seen it show up yet, but as you were mentioning earlier, just a few miles away from here, you have another massive fire. And while it's not in a residential area, it is it's burning pretty hot and burning pretty good. So, it's a hot day in Southern California. There's all these little fires popping up. So when that happens, I don't have a reason for it today, but it can spread resources thin. And I will say, having covered many fires from the air and on the ground, I do not see a lot of the water dropping helicopters and aircraft that you normally see on these fires.
John, thank you so much for your report and your time. Obviously, we'll continue to monitor the situation. We'll check back in with you. In the meantime, for anyone just tuning in, we do want to update you on this brush fire burning homes in Riverside. It started shortly before 2 this afternoon east of the Sycamore Canyon Wilderness Park. It's now spread to more than 500 acres at last check. At least 3 homes have burned.
Yeah, so far CAL FIRE has not posted any evacuation orders, and there are no word on the cause. But as you can see from SkyCal here, homes, at least 3 that we can count, have burned, and it is spreading fast. So we were speaking to Ryan Railsback with Riverside Police, telling us that people in this area, if you see these flames, if you're close to the smoke, evacuate. He said, if you see it, it's close to you. That is the best thing you can do. Although, Gio, we have seen several residents in this area grabbing water hose, getting water from their pool, trying to protect their property, as we're watching another rather large home burn here.
And quite dramatic, but understandable, at least in the context of trying to protect your own home, your own property, your livelihood, and we've seen that at least a few times so far since we broke in with this breaking news and keeping an eye on it. It is worth mentioning that we were told that the Orange Terrace Community Center is being set up for evacuations for anyone who's been evacuated. They can go there, get some help, take their small animals with them as well. That's the one on Orange Terrace Parkway in the Orange Crest neighborhood. So that's important to note as we continue to monitor this situation right now and give you the widened out look from SkyCal and just how smoky it's been all day. It's in fact gotten worse now in just the last half hour or so as firefighters continue to battle these flames. Some homes have been a complete loss. Others look worse compared to other homes, and I thought that was a very striking image that John showed us just a couple minutes ago of heightening and highlighting the importance of defensible space, with one particular home seemingly untouched while others surrounded by so much brush and things that could catch fire decimated.
We do want to get to some sound here on the ground in the Hawarden Hills area. We just spoke to a homeowner in the area. Let's go ahead and listen in.
I did. I seen the flames right back here coming up, man. They looked like they were about 20, 30 feet high, or some points maybe even up to at least 30 feet, I'd say. And you know, some points, and they were surging, and yeah, kind of a trip. I've never been this close to a big fire. You know, I don't even know what happened, man. It's actually my dad's house, and he called me up and said that there's a fire coming right up. Go check it out. So here I am, and yeah, it came right up to it. It looks like they just finally got it just about put out. I'm not even sure if it's 100%, but thank God we did a bunch of D&G and a bunch of fire retardant plant here just for this reason. So looks like that might have saved us. As you can see, it stopped right at that D&G, right where we put in as kind of a fire barrier.
Especially important, he mentioning this is my father's home. I'm here. These flames came up so quickly. It sounded like it took that family by surprise, but that they were prepared for it. In the coming weeks, years probably, they've been planting some of that brush there that they said was fire retardant, and then as well as building that defensible space here.
And this is the other wildfire we're keeping track of right now south of Lake Matthews. This fire prompted evacuations as well, but we were told that it's mostly empty land, not a lot of homes in this area. A little bit more remote than what we've been keeping an eye on, but you see all that smoke. You still see some active flames there as well. But we want to bring in Olga, our meteorologist Olga Espina, in right now because you've been monitoring the situation as well from back in the Weather Center, Olga, and this is something, given the temperatures, given the wind, and the fact that they're not really going to die down anytime soon, it's going to be an ongoing situation.
It really is. It's still going to continue with the elevated fire danger through the upcoming work week. So temperatures have been extremely hot, as you know. Numbers in Riverside got up to 102 this afternoon. It is still in the mid-90s. And of course, the winds a big factor. We're looking at moderate to strong winds with gusts of 24 miles per hour. Those winds coming from the west, spreading smoke to nearby areas. So if you are in places like Moreno Valley into Beaumont, you will be seeing some of that smoke impacting your neighborhood as well. So we're going to continue still with these winds. The good news is, as we head into later tonight, the winds are going to start dying down, but they're going to pick up again as we head into tomorrow afternoon. So this is definitely going to be a challenging firefight. We're going to continue with hot temperatures still as we head into tonight. Wind gusts right now, you can see that they are strong, especially through the deserts and centered right through the Inland Empire, exactly where we are seeing that fire right now. We have a heat advisory for the Riverside area through the Inland Empire through tonight, and we have dry conditions. Of course, we have the winds, we have the very hot temperatures. Next 12 hours in Riverside with numbers dropping down into the mid-80s by 8 o'clock tonight. Upper 70s. It is still going to be a hot night. Look at that, almost 80 degrees at 11 o'clock at night. So some warm nights, and tomorrow morning, 8 a.m., mid-70s, some sunshine, and then winds picking up as we head into tomorrow afternoon. So this is going to be, again, a tricky week ahead with increased fire danger, not just through the Inland Empire, but really for all of us across Southern California. So this is certainly something we will continue to monitor as we head into the next several hours and into the week ahead.
Olga, thank you so much for that update. The threat of fire, wildfire, brush fire, very clear here in Southern California, not only today, but in the coming days, as you're taking a live look from SkyCal at one of the homes in the Hawarden Hills area, continuing to burn here. At last check, we know that this fire has burned more than 500 acres. It started right around 1:30, just after 1:30 here in the Hawarden Hills area, just south of the 91 freeway. At this hour, we know more air resources are being called in, including a helitanker, one of our best resources here in Southern California. It can carry up to 1,000 gallons of water here. But you heard from residents there, Gio, saying that this fire came fast. Some of them were prepared, building that defensible space. Other homes and other homeowners simply devastated tonight.
And it's been terrible to watch because we were able to show those live images earlier of folks in their backyards, buckets in hand, grabbing water from their pools to try and ward off the flames that were inching closer and closer to their property. At one point, it looked like someone else was using their own hose to try and fend off the flames as well. It is incredibly smoky right now, this live view from SkyCal right now, to give you that perspective of just how much this has been burning, how long it's been burning, and how many homes are affected. Now, granted, these are very large estates, large areas, but these are livelihoods being lost right in front of us right now. As we continue to monitor the situation, it's been very chaotic for a lot of families. Just hearing those sound bites of a sense of relief, knowing that some homes have been saved while others that we've been able to see on screen, those flames raging and seemingly getting worse and worse as the minutes pass by. This is one of those homes where just about an hour ago, 45 minutes ago when we first checked in, you could see the smoke billowing in this area, but only in just the last 20 to 30 minutes have those flames sort of broken through, and then you see the true devastation coming through in this moment. Of course, this widened out view shows you just how many more neighborhoods are in the nearby area, not terribly far away. So while a lot of this is concentrated at the moment to these very large estates, there is that concern, obviously, with containment at 0% at last check, that this presumably will spread. And of course, the concern is for so many other people in so many nearby neighborhoods, when do you pack up and go? So that's something to monitor as the night continues.
Yeah, and we just got video into our newsroom, new video of the Hawarden fires. People were evacuating their homes. We're watching this video for the first time with you here. So bear with us as we're watching what is happening, but you can see a classic car getting out of there quickly. Take a look. Policemen, law enforcement, grabbing animals, running with them here. You can see just how quickly and how close these flames come to homes as they're burning through this very dry and brittle brush. Take a look. You can see through that smoke a homeowner there with his shirt off, grabbing hose. Another one grabbing hose alongside firefighters, trying to put out what looks like some, smolder and an area that had already burned there.
And something else, I mean, seeing the video from this perspective, from the ground, it's one thing to notice it, but look at the flags there in the background, right over the firefighter's head. Notice how windy that is. That goes to Olga's point about just these gusts and the difficulties that play into effect with fighting these fires and the fact that they can spread so easily. But what I was going to say additionally was the fact that from this ground perspective, notice how much brush, notice everything that can just so easily catch fire. We were obviously able to notice that from SkyCal, but the vantage point on the ground just heightens the danger and highlights just how serious this firefight is right now.
You can see firefighters there in the middle of what looks like a property next to a car that looks a bit charred there on the rooftop. But you can see just one little spark, some ash can travel. And as we noticed earlier, it looked like this fire was hopscotching on all ends, just burning. It didn't look like any of the homes that burned were next to each other, right? They were in opposite ends of the fire lines. And you can just see the massive response by firefighters here in the Riverside area trying to get to these very remote homes. It's hard to access them with a fire truck. And you can see just how many stairs they had to climb just to get to that home there.
And despite how large they are, that's still a lot, that's a ton of space to have to cover and take care of and manage, because if you're handling a fire from just one side of a very large property, who knows how far it's spread to the other side, and you still have to manage that. So even though it is just one home here or there, it would be like how in other areas you're dealing with multiple structures and more people and more things at one time. But this is just incredible video. It's stunning to look at, but really puts you in that perspective, that POV of what a lot of people are dealing with in this area right now. It's frightening, it's terrifying, and it's heartbreaking to have to leave your home to take care of yourself, but that's what a lot of folks are going to have to do right now.
A very dangerous situation as people, as we're watching people from video coming into our newsroom trying to evacuate this area. We did hear from homeowners saying that it felt like the fire came rather quickly up to their homes. At this hour, we do know that there is an evacuation center being set up, or is currently set up, I should say, at the Orange Terrace Community Center. That is where you can go if you have been evacuated or you're thinking about leaving your home and you're seeing the smoke and possibly these flames are getting closer to your area. You can head to, again, the Orange Terrace Community Center. They say you can head there with small animals, so you will be able to bring your pets like your cats, your dogs along with you, and that is where you can get more information from law enforcement. I can imagine Red Cross will also be out there as we're taking a look from video coming into our newsroom of the situation there on the ground in the Hawarden Hills area, as we've seen at least 3 homes burned.
And just a couple of minutes ago, as you look at the video from earlier on the right side of your screen, that's on the ground perspective of this raging fire and how it's affecting so many homes. On the left side of your screen is that live footage from SkyCal. You see how smoky the area is right now. You take a look at some air resources at the moment right now. It looks like a CAL FIRE chopper there on your screen. A little hard to tell with the smoke, but just a couple minutes earlier, we saw some more retardant getting dropped in the area. That's, I want to call it the 3rd time we've seen it since we first broke in. So it hasn't been a lot, but this is just an ever-evolving process, on top of the fact that resources are a bit limited right now, because it's not just this fire that we're currently monitoring and that firefighters are dealing with right now. There is also the one south of Lake Matthews, not terribly far from this location in Riverside. That fire prompted evacuations, and that the Eagle Fire that we're monitoring as well. So there's a lot going on in this general area right now. As we want to chime in with John from SkyCal right now. John, can you hear us? I want to ask you about the what we were talking earlier with regards to people. We heard from a resident down below who said, this is my dad's home. Fortunately, it seemed like it stopped right before we got there. But your perspective, how many people have you seen take water from their pools and try and handle this themselves? I mean, it's been terribly dangerous, but I imagine you've seen quite a few so far.
Yeah, we have. We've seen, there was one house up here where they were, literally taking trash cans and buckets, going over to the pool and then throwing it over the fence and putting out the flames. And actually, we were kind of impressed. It was actually fairly effective, and it did slow the flames down a bit. We saw another guy down where they're dropping all this retardant who was literally just out there with a garden rake, trying to cut his own fire line. You know, you usually see firefighters in lines with their Pulaski shovels going around and trying to create fire breaks, but he just, he had his garden rake, he was out there and he was determined to clear some brush. I'm not sure how effective it was, but it looks like all those tankers have dropped a lot of retardant in that area that he was originally trying to create that fire break. But, you know, you got to feel for residents. You see flames coming, you have your house, you have your loved ones, you have everything you love in that house, and you know, your natural instinct is to protect it, and you try to do that any way possible. And you see people with garden hoses, buckets, rakes, you know, doing whatever they can. And obviously that is, you know, it's dangerous to do that, but, you know, you got to feel for the people that, you know, feel compelled to do such a thing.
Yeah, and John, we're talking about air resources because you're able to listen to all the air resources being flown in. Have you been able to see the helitanker make its way down there? Are you seeing more resources from the air?
You know, earlier we did hear the helitanker on the radio talking, and we haven't seen it yet. I do see there's, CAL FIRE has its Firehawk, which is to the east of the fire, in the eastern flank. We saw a sky crane and even a helicopter from Orange County, but I haven't seen them drop yet. I don't know if they're in kind of a holding pattern, but, you know, important thing to know is that, you know, the fire is not aggressively advancing like you see over at the fire just a few miles down the road. So I'm not sure if that plays into their decisions on where they're going to drop, but yeah, there are helicopters here at least on standby.
And John, can you give us a vantage point of just how close the Eagle Fire is to this? Because we know it's burning right near Lake
I need to show the
Matthews,
Eagle
and
Fire.
it's
Are you able to
very
turn,
close.
Chris?
I think he's trying to.
Yeah, turn. Yeah. So the Eagle Fire, we're gonna turn the helicopter. So bear with us a moment. But the Eagle Fire is right over here. This is Lake Matthews in the center of your screen, and the Eagle Fire is putting out a lot of smoke, so it's kind of hard to see. But you know, it's not all that far as the crow flies. This other fire, and this one is burning much more intense than the fire we see over in the neighborhood.
And John, as we take a look at this, obviously it almost looks like a chopper there is in your viewfinder. There's something about the video that we want to be able to show folks, going back to our earlier topic regarding people trying to do their best to take care of their property on their own, which is to say hoses, which is raking a fire line. Perhaps that was one of the most striking images we've seen so far this evening. You see it there on the right side of your screen. Notice the flames. It's a wall of fire alongside of him. And this man is with a rake or perhaps some other tool building his own fire line, or at least attempting to. And it really highlights, you know, the desperation, the understandable desire to save your livelihood that we've been seeing so far this evening.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. It's you know, I'm sure if you ask firefighters or a PIO, they'll say that's not the thing to do. Let the firefighters do that. But I gotta say, if I was in their situation, I'd probably be out there with my rake and garden hose trying to do as much as I could as well. And it's just one of those split moment decisions. You see the flames coming, and you're going to try to do everything you can. If firefighters haven't shown up yet, you just do your best.
A silver lining here, John, and we were just looking at it right now, is the helitanker. Both of these fires are burning in such close proximity to Lake Matthews, and we saw the helitanker, right, dipping down there to grab some water, reload, and continue the firefight. That is going to be extremely helpful. We've seen some fires where they have to go several miles to get water. In this case, it is right smack dab in the middle of both of these fires.
Yeah, and what I was just showing you, that's actually one of the Sikorsky sky cranes that was dipping in Lake Matthews. And I'm not sure if that one is now dropping on the Eagle Fire or if that's going to head over here to this fire. But they are in the area, and you're right, Lake Matthews is a massive reservoir of water, and it's a very good point for these helicopters to dip in and get water and then quickly get over to both of these fires.
A silver lining, at least a small one indeed. John, thank you so much. On this note, we want to bring in Captain Paul Seawright with the Riverside Fire Department. Paul, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Great. Well, first, thank you for your time, but I want to check in first in terms of the update. What's the latest you're getting on this fire in terms of size, response, and of course, evacuation orders too?
Yes, thank you for having me on. It's a dynamic situation that's still changing and evolving at the moment. We have approximately 497 acres involved. We have 50 fire units committed to the incident. And with our supporting agency of Riverside Cal Fire, we have 2 tankers, we have 3 helos. Right now we have 5 structures damaged, but that number may clarify in the developing hours. We do have 2 civilian injuries with minor reported at this time.
Can you tell us about any evacuation orders? Earlier we were reporting there were none, but I'm seeing a lot of people on social media telling us maybe that's incorrect information. Are there currently any evacuation orders right now?
There are evacuation orders. We have our police department units that are active in the neighborhoods that are going to the homes that have that backyard that borders the bluff, and they're requesting that the occupants evacuate that structure, and they're assisting us with that. The number in total, I couldn't give you an accurate number now, but I will at a later time.
Okay. So at this time, there are no certain streets or areas. Would you say anyone that may see these flames near them to just simply evacuate, take it upon themselves to leave? Because we're seeing a lot of people actually grabbing their water hose, taking water from their pool, still on their property, trying to fight the fire and the flames themselves.
Yes, we want everyone to be safe. We understand that there is a connection to property, especially homes, but we do have professionals out there, and the fire department is making their best efforts to go to those active flame fronts and take care of those that are most important at that time, and then triage and respond back to those that need follow-up.
The Eagle fire that is burning not too far from this one that we're currently monitoring right now, how much does that play a factor in the response here? Does it make things more difficult, or does in fact make it perhaps even a tad easier given the fact that Lake Matthews is right there and could potentially be a big help when it comes to retrieving water perhaps?
Absolutely. There's always a lot of challenges on these complex, large incidents, but we have great partners with Riverside CAL FIRE, and they're able to share resources with us. So at this time, yes, resources are divided between the two geographical areas, but we're handling all the hazards as they present themselves.
How quickly did this fire spread? We were listening to some residents speak saying that it came up what they felt rather quickly. Is that what you guys were seeing as well once you first got the initial call? Did this fire spread fast?
Initial units did report a rapid rate of spread. Anytime you have field weather and topography and proper alignment, there is that potential for a large fire spread. And I think that's what initial crews witnessed as they arrived on scene.
How does the game plan look for the rest of the evening? Obviously, this is going to take some time given the fact that it's 0% contained right now, or at least in the early stages of containment. But given the sweltering heat, given the wind, of course, when we checked in with our meteorologist earlier, those are conditions that are going to keep going throughout the evening. But what's the approach right now as we get later and later into the night?
That's correct, sir. Just to be able to box and contain this fire. The forward progress is a benchmark that we always try and hit, and that once we achieve that, then we can address all the other incident needs.
And you mentioned 2 people were injured. We know minor injuries. Can you give us any idea of how they were injured?
Not at this time. They were transported to local hospitals and being treated for those minor injuries.
Okay, do we know if they were burn injuries by chance?
I do not know that at this time.
How difficult is this area for firefighters to access? We're watching video of firefighters having to climb several staircases. We know that fire trucks haven't been able to get up close to the homes because the roads that lead to these homes may be rather narrow. Is that a difficulty for your crews right now?
Yeah, crews are working to the best of their ability with the heat and the conditions. So the terrain is steep, even though it's paved. But back behind these beautiful homes, there is that wildland bluff area. And so they're having to negotiate both, right? Sidewalks and steep hills, as well as the arduous terrain that has fire in it. And they're making their best efforts to extinguish it.
Has there been any indication so far? Obviously, we know it's early, but in terms of the investigation of the cause of the fire, we were told earlier that there were arson investigators on the scene, that there was perhaps, based on some initial calls by residents, that this could have been started by fireworks. But on your end, has there been any indication of that?
For the city of Riverside, we always have a investigator respond out as part of our initial response. So I can't determine, or I can't give you any information as to the cause and origin of it now, but that is a developing story.
Understood. Another point to make here is something we've brought up in the last hour and a half when we first broke in with this breaking news, is the fact that we've been looking at these homes, these very large estates, and you notice just how much brush, how much green, things that could easily catch on fire surround a lot of these homes, while at the same time, some other homes have a lot of defensible space around them. What does a day like this serve as a reminder to folks who may be watching at home, as we are in the thick of fire season, with regards to defensible space and trying to mitigate these things before something horrible like this happens?
Absolutely. I would say, be a good steward of your own property, clear the brush to the best of your ability when you can and when it's safe to do so. But if there's an active fire and an emergency that is threatening your safety or your house, let the fire department engage.
This is a day that your crews truly trained for, sir. But I know that the heat is making it rather difficult for firefighters out there. It is bordering almost 100 degrees in this area, and I can imagine that is also causing quite the difficulty for crews there.
Absolutely. Our personnel are trained and ready for this moment. And we're just happy to serve the citizens. However, it is difficult and challenging, and they're going to remain hydrated and work to their best of their ability.
We thank you so much for your time, and really send the best to the fire crews that are working hard down there on the ground in these conditions, in this rather remote area here in Riverside. We thank you so much for your time, and of course, we'll continue to check in with you.
Thank you, ma'am.
That was Captain Paul Seawright with the Riverside Fire Department. As we approach the end of this 5 o'clock hour, we do want to mention that this is obviously still developing. Notice the video on the right side of your screen. That's from earlier. That was the initial home, the very first home that we showed you when we first broke in over on KCAL on Channel 9, engulfed in flames. On the left side of your screen is live from SkyCal at the moment, and you just see how much gray, how much black, the burn scars left. You even notice the fire retardant line that was initially laid down there briefly at the bottom of your screen. But this is something where a lot of buildings, a lot of structures, at least 3, we were told, lost so far, 2 civilian injuries, minor at this time, and there is 1 chopper as you get a look at it right now as the response continues to develop as we get into this evening, because these temperatures are, and these wind conditions, all of that is not going to go away, at least anytime soon, as that drop is happening right this second. You're looking at it live right now. And at least it seems, given the last hour and a half when we first broke in, they have been making progress. We have not seen as many raging flames in the last 20 minutes as we have earlier.
We're not seeing any new homes catch fire here in the Hawarden Hills area. As you said, we did see one of those heli tankers making one of those water drops there. We do know there are more resources now involved, about 50 fire units, 2 tankers there. We know 497 acres have burned, and you're taking a look at video from earlier when it looks like law enforcement there grabbed a dog, ran out, and people were being told to get out of their homes. Now, the fire captain did not give us an exact area that was being evacuated, although he did say that the police department was evacuating homes. That backyard may border the bluff in this area. And if you are evacuating, an evacuation center has been opened at the Orange Terrace Community Center. You can bring your small animals like dogs and cats along with you, but we're taking a live look from SkyCal there, and this is a home we saw really engulfed in flames in the last hour here, now just down to the bones, Gio.
Yeah, completely, and it's devastating to see. You at the bottom there, right behind that tree, you still even see some active flames right now burning, but that structure, that entire thing is gone, and so has at least a couple of more that we've seen. And on top of that,
this was a huge home.
It was a massive home,
multi-million-dollar home, probably what, up to 10,000, 6,000 to 10,000 square feet, and now you can see the roof has completely collapsed, and it's bare. It's not there anymore.
And it's worth pointing out as well that, to your earlier point, given that firefighters are having to get to these very large estates, it's a lot of things they have to deal with. The video you're seeing from on the right side of your screen where it says earlier, right there, stairs, walking up those, having to get the hoses around pillars, trying to get to really accessible places to do their best to try and knock these flames down and keep things under control. So despite the fact that it's just one massive estate at a time, it's still a lot of space to cover. And you notice their chopper as well, live from SkyCal, that things are not easy for firefighters despite the lesser number of homes that you would typically see in a wildfire situation, in a brush fire situation, I should say, right now. It just really is frightening when you look at this video from the ground perspective. That right there, cars leaving and abandoning their homes to take care of themselves because it's such a terrifying situation, and going to those evacuation orders, the fact that it seems we've been told where police officers are going door to door, it's if you see it, you should go. That is the most important thing at the moment, given that it's still developing and that this thing is still burning and that containment is still a work in progress.
Yeah, even those hot spots, those can always spark up, which is why we'll continue to see the air resources here. This helitanker, it looks like possibly either making another water drop. There you go. Watching it live here, making another water drop here along this hillside with several homes, you know, just right there. Doesn't look like we can see any flames in that area, but they probably have a better vantage point than we do. But you can see just how hazy it is in this area. And it's good to note that fire crews fighting another fire about 15 miles away near Lake Matthews. We do want to get to our meteorologist, Olga Ospina, tracking the weather conditions in this area right now. Olga, what are things looking like there?
Temperatures still hot. We are still feeling the winds, but the good news is we are starting to see the winds let up just a bit. When we last checked in, gusts were right around 23, 24 miles per hour, currently 18 mile per hour gusts. So winds are starting to weaken. Temperatures are starting to go down just a bit. It is still in the 90s, 91 degrees currently, and humidity levels are rising, so 25%. Want to show you also air quality in the area because, as expected, nearby areas, if you are in the Inland Empire, you are experiencing unhealthy air quality. You can see it right there as I zoom into parts of the Inland Empire where you see those oranges and those reds. So nearby communities, places like Moreno Valley, into Grand Terrace, Redlands, there in that area of the Inland Empire, we're seeing a lot of smoke. And we're going to continue with this increased threat of fire danger as we continue into this upcoming week, as we'll continue with temperatures. It was 102 in Riverside this afternoon. We're still continuing with triple digits through the Inland Empire as we head into next week. Here's a look at wind gusts right now. So again, winds are weakening. You can see it right there. Riverside now down to 18. Expected to continue to weaken as we head into tonight, but they will pick up once again tomorrow afternoon. Heat advisory, it's now been extended until Wednesday, 9 p.m. for the Inland Empire, but all of us really in danger of this fire danger for Southern California. For the LA area, this includes places like the San Fernando Valley, into parts of Malibu, the Santa Clarita Valley. This will continue until Thursday at 10 p.m. as temperatures still continue well above average through this new work week. Riverside temperatures as we head into tonight, it is still going to be hot even at 11 o'clock in the evening, nearing still 80 degrees. So the fire threat continues for Southern California, not just for the Inland Empire, but really all of us with this threat as we continue into this new week with the elevated fire danger. We have the very hot temperatures. We have the winds for some areas. And unfortunately for today, it's been through parts of the Inland Empire where we've been seeing those moderate to strong winds. And of course, we have those dry conditions as we head into the afternoon hours. So certainly something to continue to watch as we head into the coming days.
Olga, thank you so much. It's certainly a chaotic situation out there with a developing fire and an ongoing firefight. You're taking a live look from SkyCal right now, and things have certainly changed. These two brush fires in Riverside burning over 500 acres. At least 3 homes have burned. We've shown you that they are a complete loss. We know 2 people have been injured, we've been told. This is the Hawarden fire, and the Eagle fire is burning about 50 miles away south of Lake Matthews. So that's another fire that we are monitoring right now because the situation is ongoing. And as you take a closer look here and you see some of the charred remains of what looks like a car, the front side of someone's home, and active flames there, even still hotspots or pockets of fire still going on going on right now.
Yeah, and you can see, I saw moments ago, firefighters still there on the scene. As you can see, as you mentioned, the glow of those flames. We do have photojournalist John Shriver up in SkyCal. John, what are you hearing currently as we're watching fire crews still for the last hour continuing to put resources on this home that does still continue to burn?
Yeah, they've been fighting this home and multiple other homes for a while now, and it's this home isn't burning as intense as it was earlier, but you can see much of this home has been reduced just to a skeleton of its former self. And you know, earlier I was thinking maybe only 3 homes had burned, but now when I look, next door to this house, I can see that the garage of this home has definitely burned. So I don't know if that's a detached garage or an attached garage, but you can definitely see that the garage of this home burned, and at least one of those vehicles burned as well. So, you know, I'm not entirely certain if, you know, the home burned here or was just the garage, but I would say at least 4 homes have been affected by this fire.
And on top of that, John, I'm curious your perspective on since you've been up in the air monitoring the situation. It looks like, at least from our side of things, it's certainly been not contained, but this firefight has been working at least in some sort of positive direction since we first came on, because I remember walls of flames and just pockets of fire everywhere. But it looks like firefighters, and in addition to those air resources, have at least made some impact so far.
Right, and I would say this fire is definitely less intense than it was when we first showed up here. Obviously, containment and forward progress are 2 different things. You know, containment's when they contain the fire with either, you know, fire breaks or fire lines or fire retardant. But you can tell here that definitely burning less intense, and luckily I see now they have helicopters up dropping water as well.
John Schreiber up in SkyCal. In about 10 seconds here, we're going to sign off here on CBS Channel 2, but we will continue our coverage of the Hawarden fire here in Riverside on KCAL News over on Channel 9. We do continue our coverage here on KCAL News as we continue to monitor the Hawarden fire burning in the city of Riverside. Here is what we know. We know it has burned nearly 500 acres. We know that at least 5 structures have damage. We saw 3 homes at least have burned there as they do continue to smolder and burn. You're taking a live look at one of those rather large homes there. 2 people have been injured. We're told just minor injuries, but they were taken to local hospitals there. Not only are fire crews here in Riverside battling the Hawarden fire, but just a few miles away near the Corona area, near Lake Matthews, we know that fire crews are also battling the Eagle fire.
And something else, in case you're just now tuning in with us for the first time, we did have Captain Paul Seawright with Riverside Fire Department on earlier. And in addition to those 500 acres and 2 civilian injuries, he did make a note that 50 fire units are on scene here. That includes 2 tankers, 3 helos. So there are resources in place to deal with these flames right now. In fact, what you're looking at there from SkyCal is that initial home we first brought to you almost 2 hours ago now when we were first talking and describing this fire. This is one of the homes and structures that is presumably at a complete loss given how much damage we're looking at right there. You see firefighters at the bottom of your screen, 2 of them by the pool, 1 still with a stream from the hose coming in and taking care of any hot spots that we're noticing there in the area.
Yeah.
Earlier on the side of your screen, that's what you're looking at on the left side. There is the live footage with more fire response and a steady stream of water coming up on top of that structure.
Yeah, at this point, we do know that evacuation orders have been given. We have not been given official streets or areas, but when we spoke to Captain Seawright just a few moments ago, he told us that the Riverside Police Department was evacuating any home that has a backyard that borders this bluff. So he's saying if you're in this area, you feel like you're being impacted, leave. There is an evacuation center set up at the Orange Terrace Community Center. You can bring your small animals along with you. But at this point, if you're in the area, although it looks from our vantage point that fire crews have gotten quite a handle on this, we have not been given any confirmation of any containment at this hour. So this is still a very active situation.
And you still see those lines of retardant that were dropped there. One of the most striking things about this situation that we've been keeping an eye on so far are those families, are those homeowners, and you see all of the crews down there, police officers there, presumably trying to keep an eye on things in case they do need to go to homes and let people know, hey, you have to get out of here as soon as possible. You should do that. But one of those emotional and striking things are seeing people try and defend their homes by themselves, which
we've seen a lot of.
And that's with buckets, that's with their own hoses on top of that. Take a listen to what one homeowner said as he was dealing with the fire.
I did. I seen the flames right back here coming up, man. They look like they were about 20, 30 feet high, or some points maybe even up to at least 30 feet, I'd say. And you know, some points, and they were surging, and yeah, kind of a trip. I've never been this close to a big fire. You know, I don't even know what happened, man. It's actually my dad's house, and he called me up and said that there's a fire coming right up. Go check it out. So here I am, and yeah, it came right up to it. It looks like they just finally got it just about put out. I'm not even sure if it's 100%, but thank God we did a bunch of D&G and a bunch of fire retardant plant here just for this reason. Yeah. So looks like that might have saved us. As you can see, it stopped right at that D&G, right where we put in as kind of a fire barrier. Yeah.
I'm not sure if you can hear us here. Okay, well, that D&G decomposed granite there, a lot of times homeowners do use that to create that defensible space, but you're getting a live look as we just saw a helicopter there possibly making a water drop, right? They made another water drop in this area. And you can see just how hazy and smoky it is here. But Gio, back to your point, we were there watching video of many people who were still on their property trying to defend their home, much like that resident. We don't know if he tried to defend the home, but we know he was there as those flames got rather close. But we have seen many residents stay behind, grab hose, try to get water from their pool just to protect their property, because really in these situations, with it being so spread out and the fire hitting so many different areas, it was hard for fire crews to be at all these homes, you know, at the right time. But take a look there on the right side. We're getting our first look there on the ground from one of our photographers with a live look at what looks like another property burning.
It almost looks incredibly similar, if it's not the same, to the SkyCal shot you see on the left side of your screen. So it really gives you a different perspective. You notice how hazy, how smoky it is. Pardon me. On the left side of your screen from SkyCal, that's how much they've been fighting the fires, how much smoke is still left over, and then the black pillars and the active flames on the right side. You see how overwhelming that is. That's what firefighters are dealing with right now. That's what a lot of homeowners have been dealing with so far, having to face this head on and having to deal with a situation where they're, in some cases, are saying, okay, let's grab from the pool, let's grab, John was mentioning this from SkyCal, grab our trash bins and fill that up with water and dump it there ourselves, versus, okay, now we just got to get in our cars and leave, because on top of the live footage you're seeing right now, we'll get to the video at a later point from earlier of seeing the fire head on right from your perspective and having to drive away in that and how dangerous it is.
It's so interesting when you get this ground perspective, because look at the brush around this home. It's still intact there. It doesn't look like the fire was able to get to that home by, you know, making its way through all this brush. So you have to wonder how much wind played a factor. Was it just an ember that happened to reach that home, get stuck there in the roof, and then cause the entire home to catch fire there? But take a look, you can see the ground just smoldering there, ashes, and you're right, SkyCal, I believe, did have a view of the home that was burning there, a rather large multi-million-dollar home in the Riverside area.
And we still don't know what the cause of this fire is exactly right now. On the right side of your screen, you see the chopper right above, live from the ground there, presumably, or at least hopefully making another drop here soon. But we've seen that steady source of air resources coming through over the last couple of hours. We've seen firefighters on the ground deal with this situation. It's something that right now, we don't know what caused it. We were told earlier from police that they were getting initial calls from residents in the area that it could have been, there's the drop, you see it live right now on KCAL here, that it was maybe a firework. That is not confirmed yet. We tried following up with the Riverside Fire Department captain a couple of minutes ago, asking if that was it, but we're still very early on in the investigation. However, it still highlighted the importance of that defensible space, because we've been able to see with these large estates in this Riverside area, how some haven't been touched by these flames. They haven't been touched by the fire, while others have unfortunately been lost and just raging with fire throughout the afternoon. You even see it from the ground right there, as well as from SkyCal. There is a lot of things, fires, trees, brush, pardon me, that could easily catch fire, and that's something that's been a major concern for officials throughout this afternoon.
Those heli tankers especially helpful at this hour right now as some of these homes do continue to burn here. I believe we do have video, if we can take it, of the moment residents were evacuating this area. You can see someone driving off a very expensive classic car. This area very smoky. Other people driving right by a wall of flames there. And this one, you could see someone's dog probably left at the home, or the homeowners weren't home as police officers raced out of this area. Take a look. It looks like the fire just completely jumped in all sorts of directions given the conditions there. And this is what we were mentioning, Gio, right? People grabbing hose, trying to protect their property.
And what a striking image to see firefighters here on one side of it, and then a presumed homeowner, anybody else there dealing with it themselves. It goes back also to Olga's earlier point, because we've been checking in with her periodically throughout the evening about the conditions. And we are in that time of fire season where it's hot. It's hot every day. You're dealing with triple digits, especially over in the deserts and even parts of the IE, where right now, or at least earlier, the temperatures were in the mid-90s and the wind gusts were in the 20-mile-per-hour range. So just to see spots creep up, on top of the fact there are so many factors and things that could easily catch on fire, it makes things that much more difficult, and something that both police officers and even the fire captain have told us that they're going to have to be dealing with as the evening goes along, because this is not something that is going to go away when it comes to sweltering temperatures or gusts of windy conditions.
And I'm wondering if we can get to Olga here just to get the very latest conditions here in Riverside. Olga, can you hear us here?
I do, yes.
Okay. What are firefighters currently up against when it comes to Mother Nature here?
Oh, well, temperatures are certainly still warm, but things are improving. They'll continue to improve as we head into later tonight. And winds are also weakening. We'll continue to feel the winds weaken as we head into this evening. So currently Riverside 91 degrees. Keep in mind, this is an improvement. This afternoon, we topped out in the low 100s for the Riverside area. Gusts were in the mid-20s. They've lowered to 18 miles per hour. So things are improving. Humidity still at 25%. And those wind gusts, again, keep in mind, this is not the only area at risk for fire development. We're seeing some really gusty winds through some of our deserts, through the high desert, places like the Antelope Valley. And as we head still into tomorrow and much of the upcoming week, we are still going to be dealing with scorching temperatures well above average. We have a heat advisory in place for the Inland Empire through Wednesday night. For the LA area, that's going to continue through Thursday night. So we're talking temperatures still into the 100s as we head into tomorrow afternoon. Of course, air quality still an issue. We've been seeing the winds coming from the west. So areas to the east of the Riverside area are seeing a lot of smoke into that area as well. Next 12 hours in Riverside, we're still going to continue with pretty warm numbers. Look at this. At midnight, it is still going to be in the mid-70s. But the winds in particular, this is very important. They are going to be weakening. So at least that's going to provide a little bit of help as to not spread that fire so quickly as what we've been seeing this afternoon.
Olga, thank you. I'm getting some good news here. I'm seeing that down on the ground there that firefighters have been able to stop the forward progress of the Hawarden fire, but that does not mean their guard is let down or the work is done yet. You can see the heli-tankers still working here, making water drops, continuous water drops, as we're still seeing areas smolder and some areas are still on fire. Or some homes, I should say, are still on fire.
And if not those raging flames that we saw earlier, there at least have been many hot spots or even some smaller active flames coming out of these buildings. For example, right here, you see it from SkyCal, bottom left of your screen. Large pillars of smoke billowing out, but you still see the orange and popping up from here and there. On top of the police officers on the top right side of that live photo from SkyCal on the left. On the right, you see the helicopter there, where we've been seeing steady drops, at least in the last half hour to hour or so. There's another one where, or I should say perhaps that was from earlier. It looks very similar to one we saw earlier. Oh, it's live. Okay, good. So that's good news there, where it's been a steady stream. And that's good to think that, okay, maybe I saw that one. No, that's a new one. It's a good thing that we're seeing the progress being made.
And a reminder, it's all unfolding, developing situation. We're watching this with you at home. But the one thing that is making this firefight for the air resources rather helpful is the fact that Lake Matthews, although there is another fire burning near Lake Matthews, the Eagle Fire there, Lake Matthews is a resource, a very close resource for these heli tankers to be able to jet on over, grab some more water, come back, and that's why we're seeing these continuous drops right now happening so quickly here in this area. These are going to make all the difference, really, when it comes to this firefight, and probably the reason why firefighters and fire crews were able to stop that forward progress. But as you're seeing here, the work not done yet, as we're seeing yet another water drop. Just incredible to see the amount of water. We know some of these can carry up to 1,000 gallons of water, and they're able to just drop it into this area, trying to make as much progress as possible in a short amount of time.
And you might be wondering the focus here. Of course, the focus is mainly because, as you see, two helicopters there on your screen right now coming live from SkyCal, is that we were told earlier the concern obviously is more focused on the Hawarden fire because of the homes, because of the lives at risk, versus the Eagle fire over 15 miles away or so on the south side of Lake Matthews, is that it's a bit more in a remote area. They don't seem as concerned with that one. Earlier, you saw pillars and pillars of smoke, some active flames there as well. But right now, all the focus, at least most of it, seems to be on this area right now in Riverside with these homes, with these people. A lot of keeping an eye on evacuation orders, perhaps, by police officers, on top of the fact where they're hammering with water. We've seen lines of retardant being dropped as well. You see another one right there, right now, as we speak.
Take a look at how much brush sits right underneath this area. You can see the fire crews there on the ground, making sure they're able to dig a fire line there. But take a look. All the ash shows you where this fire made its way up into the backyard of the homes here. You can see that hillside completely charred, if I'm correct there, as homeowners in this backyard are still, I'm sure, frantically running around and making sure that they can protect their property as best as possible. It's something we continue to see time and time again, people running back and forth here, just trying to protect their property. Here's a live look, I believe. Is this a live look? Okay.
Did see a homeowner hosing down. We're being told the outside of their home is just one piece of what we've seen a lot of folks do on top of that. It almost looked like that last backyard we showed you, someone was dipping into their pool as well, as you take a live look right now of SkyCal on the left and another chopper drop. And there is the person, presumably the homeowner.
It's like an apartment building here, right?
Just shooting off from their hose to try and keep things away, and then someone else down below. I can't tell if that's a firefighter or somebody else hiding behind that brush right there, doing the best they can to hold off these flames as they get closer and closer. Then a third person right behind this one stock on the far right of your screen, also doing their part, seems like, to shoot some water in the direction of the flames and take care of the situation. But that's what a lot of folks have been doing, what we've been seeing a lot of folks do throughout this evening as they're trying to get a handle on the situation. Now, granted, both from the sky and from the ground and from the video we've been seeing alongside you these last couple of hours, we will say that there has been significant progress made from about 4:30 when we first popped on to just about now as we approach 6:30, in that there is some good news there in terms of managing these flames and at least getting things more under control.
But we know the situation was rapidly evolving when the fire first was reported just after 1:30 in the Hawarden Hills area. Right now, we're watching live to the left. You're watching the heli tankers make the progress, but take a look. This is video from earlier as one of the first homes we saw just engulf in flames here. These are very large properties. We continue to see other homes catch fire as well. We know so far at least 5 structures have burned. We have witnessed at least 3 different homes burned.
Oh, absolutely, and and that's one of them on the right side of your screen. That's the first one we broke in with, and it has dramatically changed in just the last half hour or so. It's been incredibly dramatic to watch and horrifying, and imagine for the families as well, having to deal with this situation, because from one homeowner that we heard from earlier, they were mentioning that it sort of snuck up on them. Everything happened so quickly, and we know how fast these fires can spread, especially this time of the year, given how hot it is, given the wind, and on top of the fact that the brush surrounding a lot of these homes can easily catch fire so quickly and then accelerate the process that much more. Then add into that the factors that firefighters are dealing with, which is these are very large estates. These are multi-thousand square foot homes and complexes that they're having to maneuver around with their hoses, with their equipment and everything else. That makes it really hard. So then this is the video that we've been harping on so much. It's been arguably the most dramatic video, where you see how close those flames are to this home, and folks are digging into their pools and doing everything they can to hold it off. It's been a sight to see.
Grabbing the buckets, right? Grabbing buckets, going to the pool, grabbing as much water as possible, and just trying to put out the flames that are right there at the fence line of this home, with, you can see, brush alongside that home. A rather scary moment for these people, and I can tell you maybe their efforts did work, because we have not seen any damage to that home,
and
if I'm correct.
John made a mention of that from when we last checked in with him up in Skycal, was the fact that he said it's actually maybe a little surprising how effective some of this has been from people, and a little goes a long way. It's in a lot of these cases, people are doing the best they can to help their home, and
but
some
the most effective, and we've seen it. John Schreiber, a photojournalist up there, was able to look at homes with that very clear defensible space, the homeowners who made sure to make that a priority. And you can see at this home, you can see exactly where the fire was able to stop. It wasn't able to touch even the backyard of that home.
Right.
And unfortunately, it is not the case for other properties in the Hawarden Hills area. It has been rather devastating to see. On the left side, you see that home, very large property, the roof completely caved in. You're just seeing the skeleton of what remains of this large multi-million-dollar property.
And a firefight that continues as we bring in another live shot from the ground, the one we brought you earlier from our photojournalist there on the ground. You see the smoke in the air. We pan over, being told there are a handful of firefighters doing their job here. It looks like they have the tools to make a fire line. It looks like a little difficult to make out, but that is seemingly what they are doing. You see the hot spots, the smoldering going on. There's a helicopter right there at the tip top of your screen, presumably making another drop here shortly. That's part of that steady stream that we've been seeing so far over the last half hour, where it's really picked up. For that first hour to hour and a half or so, it looked like air resources were sort of getting going, and it was really retardant that we saw the most of. But in these last 20 to 30 minutes, we've been seeing a steady stream of water, a lot of water getting dropped down on this brush fire in Riverside. And to Leslie's point earlier about that one silver lining and what's been a very difficult situation for so many people this evening is the fact that the other fire burning nearby, the Eagle Fire, just south of Lake Matthews, the lake sitting there is likely a big help when it comes to getting water and dropping it off nearby, as we are watching right now that chopper hopefully making another drop here soon, but one of a handful we've seen so far.
Yeah, our producer giving me a location of what you're seeing on the right side of your screen here, I believe, and you could correct me if I'm wrong, Nick, this is Overlook and Magnum Court, is that correct? Okay, that is the area we're in right now here in the Hawarden Hills area, and you can see just on the other side, it looks like 3 people. I'm just observing, I'm sure, evaluating the situation. 4 people there. It looks like you can see the fire line there, right? That is how close the fire got to their home. They're now observing what has happened in the last several hours in their neighborhood.
And in this shot right here, you see 2 choppers, one to the left and then one.
I think I saw one more. I think I saw
a third
3.
one. Yeah, I think I might have seen that one too. Where it's just there's a lot of resources going on top of the SkyCal image you see of the plane there. So the intense firefight, the intensity of the response has really picked up in just the last half hour to an hour as we continue to monitor this situation. And it's just something where you see how close it's gotten to some and how unfortunately close and overwhelming it got to others.
Yeah, and we've been talking about this for several days. The conditions outside causing the threat for one of these fires to easily spark and get out of control. And we do want to go to our meteorologist, Olga Ospina, who is tracking the current conditions and what tonight will look like and the next several days will look like when it comes to our fire conditions out there. Olga.
Leslie and Gio, we're still going to continue with elevated fire danger as we head into this upcoming work week. So we are seeing the conditions ripe for fires in the Inland Empire. For Riverside, we were in the low 100s earlier this afternoon. It's still in the low 90s, but it is an improvement. And we're also seeing an improvement in the winds. We saw them in the mid 20s when we first checked in just about a couple of hours ago. And now gusts are at 18 miles per hour. We're going to continue to see winds weaken as we head into later tonight, into early tomorrow morning. But winds will pick up once again as we head into the afternoon hours. I want to show you the air quality map because we are also seeing unhealthy air quality for that area. We're seeing the winds coming in from the west, so areas especially to the east of Riverside are seeing very unhealthy air. We're seeing a lot of that smoke being pushed into those nearby communities, and the wind gusts, again, they are weakening. We're seeing some strong winds also for parts of the high desert. So all of us are at risk of the elevated fire danger, and we will be through the upcoming week especially, and really, you know, throughout the summer here in Southern California, but especially this week that we're experiencing some very hot temperatures. Tomorrow, once again for the Inland Empire, we're going to be in the low 100s. Heat advisory in place for the IE through Wednesday night, and that means very little relief even in the overnight hours. It is still going to be hot overnight with temperatures dropping down into the mid 70s at midnight, in the low 80s still at the 9 o'clock hour. So it is going to be another hot one. We have all the conditions. We have the hot temperatures, we have the dry conditions, and we have those winds for some of us, including the Inland Empire, where we are seeing those fires this afternoon.
Olga, thank you so much. As we check back in here with SkyCal live right now over in Riverside, brush fire burning homes. We want to give a quick update just in case you've missed any details over our last couple of hours of coverage. But this Hawarden fire in the Hawarden Hills area and the Eagle fire that's burning not too far away from here either. It's two things that officials are keeping an eye on right now. Firefight has evolved tremendously over the last couple of hours. We were talking with fire officials and the mention of that evacuation orders are in place, but we haven't exactly gotten a precise location, more so that officers are going to people's homes and mentioning, hey, if it's close by, you should go and take care of yourself first and foremost. We do want to make one more mention, as we have over this time, of the community center, more specifically the Orange Terrace Community Center, where anyone who has been evacuated can go there, get some help, bring in your small pets as well. That is on Orange Terrace Parkway in the Orange Crest neighborhood. So that's something that we're keeping an eye on, as right now you take a live look from SkyCal at the damage to one of many structures that's been severely damaged, if not outright loss, over the course of this fire versus the footage that you're seeing from earlier, that first home we showed you when we first broke in.
Yeah, and this has been burning for several hours. We know it started just after 1:30, has burned nearly 500 acres. The good news right now is we're hearing that fire crews have made progress. They were able to stop the forward progress of this fire. So that is great news here. Hopefully the acreage will hold at right around 500. We have not gotten an update on any containment just yet. We know it may be several hours before they can give us those numbers. But we know at least 3 homes have burned. We were told 5 structures in total have been damaged. 2 people injured. We're told just minor injuries, but they were taken to the hospital. This here burning is the Hawarden fire, but just a few miles away near Corona, fire crews there are dealing with the Eagle fire. This here, a live look of one of the large homes that has completely burned is just gone down to the bones in this area here in Riverside.
And notice firefighters still on scene there, those streams of water coming through because there are still tons of hot spots, active flames that you're noticing right there live earlier. That footage you notice on the right side of your screen, those are folks leaving the area. The dramatic footage, it's hard to watch, it's overwhelming. Imagine being there in that situation as well. Notice the officers there carrying a dog. I don't know if that was a dog in an empty home. Homeowners just happened to be out and then they were just saving that dog. But it's been a chaotic situation for a lot of people as they've been handling this situation, from taking hoses, you see right there, someone shirtless just trying to deal with it in front of them. We've seen plenty of people doing things like this. One of the more striking images right here, a man having his own hose while firefighters are in the background dealing with it themselves as well. We were also told earlier that arson investigators are on the scene. We still don't know the exact cause. Could possibly have been fireworks. That was one of the early indications that they got from calls that were coming in, because people were calling in of this fast-moving fire. And right now we still don't know exactly what caused it, but we typically don't get that answer so early in a fire like this. But we'll be sure to keep asking, and of course when we get that information we'll be passing it along to you. But this ever-evolving situation has been certainly a chaotic one to watch, on top of the fact that the factors haven't really been in play for either the folks who are dealing with their homes perhaps being lost, on top of the firefighters, given how hot it is, given the wind, and given the fact that so much of the area, and we've seen so many of these homes, you even notice it right now.
The geography and the topography of this area.
It's very difficult, on top of all that, easily brush, the brush that can easily catch on fire. A lot of things that make it that much more dangerous to deal with for both firefighters and for homeowners.
And again, as we're wrapping up our coverage here in just a few moments, we're going to continue to, of course, monitor this situation. But again, reminding people, if you are in this area and you did have to evacuate your home, there are resources at the Orange Terrace Community Center. You can imagine they will be there through the night. Well, we are getting information now that we actually have a reporter that just got on scene there, our Joy Benedict. Joy, can you tell us where you're at and what you're seeing?
Yeah, we're right here on the edge of this community, Leslie, that was in fact evacuated, or people were asked to evacuate here in this community. And you've been watching this shot for quite some time. As you've been seeing the airdrops, you see the smoke, and unfortunately you see what is left behind after the fire has swept through this area. And I want to bring in Anna right now. Anna, I understand that you had to evacuate a few hours ago. When did you have to leave your home?
It was around it was about 3 o'clock.
And you've been standing out here ever since?
No. I came back an hour later, and it was okay to come back in. We're in a gated community about a mile down, and it was okay to come back in. And then from my living room, I saw, flumes of black smoke again, and so we called the fire department, and I don't know if they came out or not, but the neighbors got together. And, I had a neighbor who is out of the country that called me, that saw it on her cameras, security cameras, that it was like right at her fence line. So
certainly very scary.
Yeah, it was pretty scary because it spread so quickly,
That's what I was wondering. And we've heard that they've had 5 homes that have damaged, 3 are likely destroyed. Were you aware of that?
I was at Stater Brothers on Mary, and it was about 1:20 when I came out, and I got in the car and I heard the fire engine, and I thought, it's probably paramedics. And as I drove around Mary, getting close to the canal, I saw this plume of smoke, and I thought, oh my goodness, I hope that's far from my house. But as I went through the neighborhood, the shortcut, they had closed off the street, and there were 2 houses that they were trying to put out.
Well, what do you think of the job the fire department has done out here today?
I think they've done great with what they have to work with, but I'm also very upset with the city because I know there's a lot of city land that's owned right behind our development, and they will not clear it. They will not do weed abatement.
Well,
Had they done that, this could have been avoided.
Certainly, I'm sure that's something they'll look into in the future. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. I'm glad that you're okay. And it sounds like that is the good news, that we aren't hearing of any injuries because of this fire. But of course, the tough part is that we are hearing that possibly 5 buildings or homes have been damaged in some way. Guys, I know we've been watching this for several hours. I'll send it back to you.
Yeah, very emotional for those residents down there. And you can hear very active scenes still down in the Hawarden Hills area.
We'll continue certainly to cover the situation for you. Brush fire burning homes in Riverside. We're going to end our coverage here on KCAL here as we hit 6:30, but we will be back at 8 o'clock tonight with continuing coverage on this situation and any updated numbers as far as damage, injuries, evacuation orders, all of that. We'll be sure to keep you posted. See you then.